Und damit herzlich willkommen heute Nachmittag in Saal 1 zum nächsten Talk hier auf der Bühne.
Welcome to our next talk in Hall 1. Every time I see posts by Helena Steinhaus, I'm happy, and when I see her, I'm shocked. Every time. It's so important that this initiative, No Sanction, exists. It's hard to be poor in this country, and it has very concrete help. So the only thing I want to say is please give money to sanktionsfrei.de or become member. And with that, here's the stage for Helena Steinhaus with the talk, Eat the Rich. The people want social security, but they get Germany for the Germans, take the money from the rich. Hi.
Hi, voll schön, dass ihr da seid.
Hi, it's nice to see you here. We want to eat the rich today. I hope you are hungry. We are doing an all-you-can-eat.
Angeblich,
Supposedly,
wenn man dem Gerede Glauben schenkt, dann haben
if you want to hear the talk, there's a huge distribution problem because there's so many poor people who are at fault at their own situation, and they are so expensive. Us poor taxpayers who are barely able to pay.
laut CDU
And because of that, because, say, the CDU and other parties, we have to do something against these horrible poor, not against poverty, but against the poor. That's what it sounds like. I think
es gibt zu viele Menschen.
there are too many people like this guy.
Klaus Michael
That's Klaus-Michael Kühne.
und wegen Menschen wie Klaus
And because of people like Klaus-Michael Kühne from Hamburg, maybe you know him,
Menschen viel zu
a lot of other people don't have a lot of money. There's 250 other Klaus-Michael Kühnes. They are billionaires. There shouldn't be a single one.
Also wir müssen uns klar machen, was eine Milliarde ist.
You have to think about how much a billion is. There's 1,000 times a million. A billion is 9 zeros. And so there's 250 of these in Germany.
Mindestens 1000
They have a lot of billions, and there are even more millionaires.
Reinhold, Dieter, Stefan, Karl.
They are Reinhold, Klaus, Stefan, Dieter, or whatever. Don't really care about their names, and we have to think about what
Kühne hat ein
that means. Klaus-Michael Kühne has 39.2 billion euros.
39,2 Milliarden
About.
Euro. Wenn wir uns das irgendwie visuell vorstellen,
If you try to visualize that, we only need to put 500 euro
Türmen, das sind ungefähr die höchsten Hochhäuser in
Geldscheine
oder zweimal das Radisson Hotel hier nebenan.
bills on top of each other, and like that's
Hotel zweimal stapeln, dann haben wir
if that's like 2 times the Radisson Hotel right at our doorstep, and like that's Frankfurt Towers.
ein Jahr lang
So if he paid
für Bürgergeld beziehende
the normal rate and
Milliarden hätte.
apartment money, he would still have 13 billion euros after paying this 1 year.
Und was dann
And he would still have these towers of money.
armen Menschen gerade mal so eben gegönnt wird, wenn sie arm sind. Mehr oder weniger. Manche bekommen
And one of these bills is what poor people get. A lot of them get less, some of them get a little more.
der
Klaus-Michael Kühne is happy every day. You can say he can see how much his wealth is growing. He knows why the
weiß, dass
he knows the problem and he profits from it.
50%
He
unserer
knows that
99,5% des Gesamtvermögens kontrollieren.
0.5% of all people have 50% of
Das ist,
wealth, and the lower half, the poorer half, has like 0.5.
das ist schon mal, finde ich, eine
And
schöne Verteilung.
that's pretty shocking, but we can go on.
Die reichsten
We see
1%
that the richest 1% has more than a third of all wealth, and that's crazy. That's getting crazier, because Klaus-Michael Kühne and Dieter Schwarz together have more than the poorer half of Germany. 2 people have more than 41.5 million Germans. That's not an accident, that's on purpose. That's a system he's happy about every day.
natürlich auch
And there's a shadow side, a dark side to it. That's the civilians' money and the social sector. What is the citizens' allowance? When people think citizens' allowance is something else than Hartz IV, which was the prior program, that's wrong. There's no difference. The people who get it are poor. There has been a little bit of extra money, but that's just inflation, but even a little late. So people can buy exactly as much as before, which wasn't a lot. Yes, so there's that. The most important or the strongest thing that poor people have to fight against is this. The most prejudice. Yeah, the people could work, right? But yeah, the most of them do that. Can you hear that? Sorry, come again. Give them, cut their social welfare. But then people have to work. And yeah, most of them do. With citizens' allowance, most people don't work. And yeah, with citizens' allowance, people aren't working. That's a prejudice. It's a giant problem that a lot of people think that. Lindner is lying, and he's not the only one who's fucking lying. He's doing it, and nobody's saying anything against it. Media is not saying anything against it. ARD Faktenfinder, Fact Finder took 2 weeks after Markus Söder lied on TV. That's crazy. You have to look who these people are who are not working, supposedly. And that's...
It's about 1.7 million children and youth, around 2 million people who are poor and top-uppers, who raise a child on their own, who do care by it, who are ill or are doing further training. So only 1.7 million people remain who are theoretically able to work, and only a small part is theoretically able to work. Maybe can only work a few hours a day, which are very unattractive for the loan market. And most people don't do it just for a short time, who get the citizens' allowance, but for a longer time, and they have no chance to get out of that. They only have a sustaining minimum, which is too little to live, but too much to die. And you need to be very clear about that. We can also take a look at this briefly. You can see the normal amount you receive. The highest cost point is 195 euros for food. There's about 6 euros a day for a single adult parent. Children get more, and some count less, 60% only. 6 euros a day is way too little for food, and even less is the cost for education. The very slim light blue sliver is 2.03 euros for education. But it's not little. It was doubled even in the last years. We really got very big here. That's a catastrophe. And that this 500 euro bill that's next to the skyscrapers of the money that Klaus Michael Kühne has, that's ridiculous. The citizens' allowance is really badly done, not just financially, but also the bureaucracy with which the people need to deal, the insecurity, the social stigma. That weighs a lot, and that has reasons. Supposedly, the citizens' allowance is supposed to be the basic security for people who are searching for work. But I would say there are at least 3 further functions that the citizens' allowance fulfills. On one point, it is a threat model. people do a lot to not receive it. So people tend to accept bad working conditions, bad wages,
nur nicht Bürgergeld bekommen und selbst wenn man berechtigt ist, nehmen extrem viele Leute
not want to get it, even though they might have the right to get it because the social prejudice might be too big. But the second point, it supplies cheap workers. The low-wage sector profits that people who are receiving citizens' allowance tend to take any kind of work. Very few people deny work, and they know that they're being sanctioned. They know that if you do it for a second time, you're being labeled. It's really absurd that we're talking about sanctions in the kind which is happening now. The total sanctions in April were reintroduced. Linnemann, the CDU Conservative Party General Secretary, would take away the citizens' allowance of more than 100,000 people, saying that they are just sitting around not doing anything and we need to make them work again. And for many people, it's very threatening when they hear it or see it in the media. They don't know what are demands, threats, what's just a joke, what's a law, what's currently their right. Lots of people don't know that. Where should they know it from if they receive citizens' allowance? They don't have the time to take care of that, and even the people in the job centers don't know what the current right. The CDU wouldn't be the CDU if it hadn't done a balance on that. If you would take if you took away so many people's citizens' allowance, you could gain $2 or $3 billion. If I believe that Klaus Michael could take that, and then he would still remain with 36.7 or 93% of his wealth. It's not a coincidence, it's intent. There are more ideas to save. Friedrich Merz has thought that you could take lump sums for the housing costs. Currently, it's the case that lots of households need to add money to the citizens' allowance to be able to afford living. And if you would turn it into lump sums, people would lose their flats, and it would be a catastrophe. If you would take a look at that, what that would mean, if you would take the whole housing costs for a whole year, that it would be 1.77 billion euros that Michael Kühne could do as well. He would still be left with 37.43 billion euros. It would be just so easy if we did the debate like that and take a look at calculations like that, and then our problem, which we supposedly have, we would be able to solve it. But no, instead, the debate is done differently on purpose. So it's being done poor against the poorest. They're in a fight against each other in a circus, and people are looking at that and enjoying it. So it's not a coincidence. Behind that, there's very financially strong lobby assemblies. So they pay attention that they don't look up, but the poor fight against the poorest. And that's done by doing statements and allegations that the cashier shouldn't be working 40 hours a week, and still in the end she would have as little as somebody who is receiving citizens' allowance. But this comparison doesn't really make sense at all, but still it's a bad situation. In Germany, every fifth person gets a low wage, so they are allowed to get social services. But this means that the state funds the low-wage sector. 10 million people get a low wage. I haven't found out how much it costs, but it's really a lot of money. It's not a coincidence. Since 2004, the part of workers, the rate of poverty of workers doubled from 5 to 10%. It's stable.
And if you look at what happened in 2004, oh yeah, Hartz IV was introduced. After that, the low-wage sector has been expanding continually. It's gone back a tiny bit, but not really a lot. Since 2004, work for a lot of people means they are working poor. They end up as working poor, work forever, barely get any money, and when they work for 40 years, they get base fundamental pension and still need the state to give them money, and that's perverted. But that guy is also perverted. And I think it's impressive that Klaus-Michael Kühne, and so he's an example for a lot of others who get rich on the back of those who work and work. But we want to look how Klaus-Michael Kühne got his billions. Kühne-Nagel is the third largest logistics corporation of the world, in the world. And Kühne-Nagel in National Socialism had a very important role. They stole a lot of money and furniture and art from the Jews. They were the leading expedition in the time. They got a lot of money with that and got a big name with it. And nobody tried to work up this past. But they didn't stop getting rich from the poorest. Kühne-Nagel has always been shit. They are still shit. Can't really compare it to what they did in National Socialism, but they are still shit. They have 81,000 workers worldwide. In Germany, that's 15,000. And if you look at someone makes there, that's 39,800 euro brutto per year. That's 2,239 euro monthly. That's like 100 euro above base money. So that means that a lot of people there still need social money from the state, welfare money. A lot of people would not do it. Maybe they are okay with they need to spend the little they have, but a lot of people will still need to do that. So you can see how our tax money from the government is put into the pockets of Kühne-Nagel and other assholes. Yes, Kühne-Nagel. This is the social minister of North Rhine-Westphalia. He said that the job centers need to put more pressure. I'll translate that to we are slinging the whip, so they take more that work as working poor, so they can get their poorest pensions. And that is what they are doing. They are repeating it all the time, and the CDU is only that.
Yeah. Klaus-Michael
Kühne has a good friend, Dieter Schwarz. He founded Lidl and Kaufland, large supermarket chains. So let's see how they profit from poor people. So The poor people give him money 3 times. They have to make the cheap shit, and then they have to sell the cheap shit, and then have to buy the cheap shit. And he's making money with that. It's insane. You don't really think about it, but like nobody talks about this. The Bild is not making a huge headline about it. Only headlines about how much the poor cost us, but we should get a fetish for looking at what the rich cost us.
Und deswegen ist eigentlich völlig offensichtlich, dass das Bürgergeld
That means
auch noch eine
that
dritte Funktion erfüllt.
there's a third function of the citizens allowance that's disguising the distance between the money that people have, wealth. We've talking how large is a sanction supposed to be, how much a rent is supposed to be, how much people are supposed to freeze to be a good citizen. But in the end, I believe that we are only doing that so it's being done like that, so to deceive us from seeing that the money, the wealth is accumulating where it is and being aware about it. And that's relating to how wealth tax has been suspended for a while. In '96, the Constitutional Court said there's not enough wealth tax, and after that we have never had that, and nobody introduced that. So that costs us 380 billion euros, and with 13 billion euros per year, you can give everyone who needs it, everyone who's now receiving welfare money can be paid very comfortably. So how do we finance that? That's the answer. Let's just have a fucking wealth tax. That's not even inheritance tax. That would be giant amounts of money. But the wealth tax alone would make it possible for 5.5 million people to live well in dignity. And we wouldn't have to talk about this shit, and we could talk about more important thing. But he doesn't want that. Well. Oh yeah, Klaus-Michael Kühne doesn't want that. He's acting so it doesn't happen because, of course, he's giving money to the CDU party to make them continue their shit. He's giving 70,000 euros to the CDU. That's 0.16% of his income. He has to turn 3 times and he gets it back. It's nothing. It's insane how much he can just give without it hurting him at all. I'm waiting for his money. But if you talk about the wealth tax, you see this. These debates about higher tax for whoever the billionaires or this debate is an envy politics with envy. Envy doesn't do any employment. So who is envious of Klaus-Michael Kühne? I'm not. So yes, this is absurd. I really don't want to be this disgusting kind of person who profits from people. But his party colleague Marco Buschmann also said there's another argument. So that's so hard to get all this money. We can't really judge how much that is. They have too much. How would we have to count it? Let's not do it. So with civil allowance people, you can pay it. They don't have a lot. They think how much might this old car not be? How much would this old silver from grandma might be? That's not too complicated there. but it's too complicated for rich people. Klaus Michael is laughing. He's happy every day. He's also happy that the poor are being surveyed and oppressed and threatened. You have to show your account. You have to stay where you are. If you want to move away, you have to ask for that. You must be ready to go to an appointment. You have to take any shitty job. You have to write well, you have to take any job. If you don't do that, you get sanctioned. If you do it a second time, you get totally sanctioned, and then you are like a stuck-up child or whatever. And the biggest thing that people are afraid of is that the next surveillance tool will be the payment card. The payment card is here for refugees. Ever since the start of 24, it's been introduced. There are some places that are still fighting against that, but still there's already people want this to give to citizens allowance recipients. Oh, and see, that's the CDU again. But like research from Frag den Staat revealed that the SPD already checked if they could introduce this in Hamburg for recipients of citizens allowance. So my fear with the next government is shit will happen, might happen. And the other thing that is slowly happening is duty to work happened in Saale-Order-Kreis first for refugees. Simple tasks, people have to work. If they don't, they get sanctioned. The crazy thing is, of course, that is more prejudice against refugees. They are not allowed to work when people say they don't work, and this work is being done for them for a long time, and a lot of them are even doing it voluntarily. You don't have to put people to work like that, but you do it to inflame more resentments. Same thing in Schwerin. In Schwerin, people who are on citizens allowance have to work. Nobody's very interested in that. Nobody has been press has written it in the press. Administration still has to implement this, but we'll look at that and be certain that it will come. Klaus Michael Kühne can be happy. He has none of these worries. But ever since we're talking about these dystopian things, let's talk about the possibilities we still have, initiatives we have in Germany, since the payment card is a topic.
Hamburg says no to the payment card. It really quickly organized, and it enables that refugees get cash money so they can freely decide where and how much they want to purchase. I hope that's really good. I hope there will be way more of this, and there are a few successes by the Society of Freedom Rights concerning this cash money top limit. You're only allowed to get 50 euros in cash, and the rest via payment card. And the Hamburg jurisdiction decided in a quick process that it doesn't work like that. These are small steps, but by themselves they're huge. It takes a lot of work that it needs to do that way. And solidarity has lots of faces. For example, sanction-free, sanktionsfrei. I want to mention this. We are for a human worthy basic security on multiple layers. We do very unbureaucratic financial help out of our solidarity pot. We do lots of public relations and juristic legal support. And those three parts, they are all very important and work together. This year, we've well, I wish it would be 500 million, but 500 million. We redistributed more than €500,000. So thank you very much to everybody who made that possible. With this, we could.
Damit konnten wir über 5.000 Menschen unterstützen.
Support more than 500,000 people. 5,000 people. And we also did cases in the job centers, and sometimes we're super annoying with this. And here I want to mention that it's not as easy to transfer money to poor people. Usually you're not allowed to do that. It's deducted from the general. We apply the persecution law, a gray zone there, where they, for example, somebody called in where they said that you need to be really critically see if that should be deducted, and that nobody should be get an advantage. And we threatened them with our legal team, and now we have a legal case, and that's absurd just for one person not to get an advantage. So you can see what we're doing. It's not really about sanctions, of course, as well, but that's only one thing of many. Here you can see ahead denial of payment of services. In the beginning, we've heard about anonymous information that somebody lives with them, and from the day that they notice that a person lives with them, she wasn't getting any money, and a neighbor might have said that, and that's the way the job center reacts. That's like unnecessary, which is not foreseen by law, but it costs us a lot for the affected in this moment. We make such cases public and transparent. Also, if a loan is denied because the fridge is broken and you could put the food outside because it's cold outside. And somebody told me that they wouldn't do it, because they wouldn't say if somebody misuses the citizens' allowance. But I still keep doing it. And also we write to the Federal Employment Agency when they say that you should call to the customer reaction management. It's called differently everyone else. It's called Complaint Center, but now here it's called differently. Reversal of victims and perpetrators at its best. In Mannheim, there's no.
And there was this guy who had to go from his birth house in Reinickendorf. He was 84 because some builders corporation wanted to throw him out. But because of charity work from the internet, the work came up. The good thing is that even though these times are hard, people are helping, even if people don't really have that much themselves. That's great. That is Mr. Moslehner. And we had this in very short time, so we could support this initiative in case of anything happening. We thought this would only push it back a little, but a few weeks ago, Manne is allowed to stay in his house until the end of his life. And that's a good example, a great example of how good it can be when people, as in solidarity, give money. And even though you think the enemy is too big, we have been too large for them, and we did it somehow.
Wer Heartsbreaker werden möchte bei sanktionsfrei ist natürlich
Whoever wants to be Heartsbreaker at sanktionsfrei,
dauerhaft unterstützen.
that's permanent members.
Wo ihr danach sucht im Netz. Und
You
vielen,
can
vielen
find us wherever on the net.
Dank. War mir eine Ehre.
Thanks, it's been an honor.
Vielen, vielen Dank für eure Arbeit.
Many thanks for your work and the great talk.
5 Minuten
We still have 5 minutes time,
und deswegen gucke ich jetzt
so I'll have
Signal.
a look at the signal angle.
Da gibt's schon
Angel,
Fragen.
there are questions.
Ja, mehrere.
Yep, multiple ones.
Diskussionen.
Some discussions aside.
Ein Mensch hat,
One person
gesagt,
asked,
Arbeit sagen Menschen,
at our work,
sind
people
kein Heirat,
from the
Ausrufezeichen,
person,
dass die Leute
the
die
council says that the people who get citizens allowance do that because they want to enjoy their life.
Ärger, was
We always find
solchen
the correct words for
Menschen sagen.
anger. What would you reply to that?
Also erstmal, dass
You could say that most people who get citizens allowance, they can't get out of the sentence, out of the system, out of their own force, because maybe they are children, youth, unable to work, but still they're not allowed to work, or they should be working.
Genau da, wo der Job offen ist.
And lots of people don't live where the job is available. They might have a complex situation. You can't show your life on citizens allowance. You're being sanctioned.
Das funktioniert.
You're being put to work. It doesn't work like that.
Fälle, die werden hochgejazzt von den Medien.
But there are single cases which are increased in size by the media, but these are just single cases. I don't know who was it first, but maybe over there? Over there? Okay. So the state gives money for the poorest. In this country, I would say that it doesn't just do it because of its law or human dignity, but just enough so they don't rise up against the grievances in this country. And I wanted to ask how, with the upcoming politics of the Conservative Party CDU and Liberal Party FDP, we could take a look at that to make the inequality more perceivable and create protests against the system in this country, because the system ends up being the problem why the people are having this problem. I think in the end, it's basically what we do now, to talk about the rich and criticize the states and join up and pool resources together. This is what remains, and this is what makes us strong. So let's do that. Yes, thanks. And very quickly, quick minute, few minutes remaining. So thank you very much for all the facts. Very great. In this Congress, I've for the second time heard criticism of the payment cards, which I find good, but it's not going far enough for me. The CDBCs are not being talked about here. Maybe it was in the last years. Central bank digital currencies are not being looked at. Digital central bank money, the future model that's thought for everybody without cash money, that's being planned for years by big organizations. I'm missing that. Yeah, sorry. That's a really important point. I should have mentioned that here.
Die zwei.
Yeah, thank you. You said that this guy lives next to Hamburg? No. Actually, he lives in Schilleregi in Switzerland. He grew up near Hamburg. Well, I have hunger. Yeah, let's travel to Blankenese. Things are being produced there. Provided. Okay, we are able to do it a bit longer. Yeah, hi, thanks for the good talk. I wanted to ask if, according to your opinion, it's especially a German problem that poor people are being stigmatized like that, because in Germany, from what I've noticed, work is glorified. It's almost a kind of status symbol, the job status or the wage, the salary. Would you say that it's a European or worldwide problem? Well, I would say it's a capitalist problem.
Und eine Frage aus dem Internet.
And a question from the internet.
Gab es da eine Frage aus dem Internet?
Was there a question from the internet? Yeah. Oops. I didn't hear that.
Ja, und zwar wurde unter
Yep.
anderem gefragt,
Amongst others, it was asked,
Marlene Engelhorn,
considering Marlene Engelhorn and the organization Tax Me Now,
ob ihr da im Dialog
if you're in dialogue
ob es da irgendwie noch
and
mehr
if
MillionärInnen gibt.
there are substantially more millionaires who would actually like that. Oh yeah, precisely. Tax Me Now, a really good, important organization, which just confirms how absurd this is. Yes, we know each other. Some of the members of Tax Me Now, like, we're not in a formal way of cooperation.
Nee, ich kann das gar nicht
Das
sehen.
ist die 3.
Die 1.
Eins? Okay.
Ich wollte fragen,
I wanted to ask, how can you imagine, with the sanctions,
rechtlichen Basis
on which legal basis you can
Existenz
take the existence financial media like that, take that away, like the total sanction, and also part sanctions. Well, part sanctions, you need to cooperate, and if you don't follow them, maybe you don't take up a job or a measure, and if you lack cooperation, then it's cut by around 30%. These are the normal sanctions, which have been reduced by the highest court in Germany, but they're still shit. So total sanctions are harder to do, and there are questions, or there's murmuring if they've even been done. Earlier it has been easier, now it's harder. So you need to deny a work offer for the second time, which would immediately secure the existence and would make the transfer payment unnecessary. And as long as it's not taken up, the 100% sanction works. So there's a loophole. Experts debate about if that's actually legally testable, stable, and because of a lack of cases to check the legal status, we don't know it. Yes, I agree. You talked about the requirement to work, which needs to be implemented by the agencies. Members of agencies are often in the situation that they need to do something even if they don't want to. But this reminds me of slavery, which is still legal in the US, for example, in jail inmates. To what I know, slavery is illegal in Germany. Do you have possibilities if you were a worker at such an agency? What could you do? Are there good arguments you could give to the boss? No, I don't do that. Doesn't seem like conforming to the Constitution. Well, yes. According to the legal state, it's possible. You can connect a social service to a legal to another service. And the only possibility is that the administration is too slow. So the wealth tax, is there a legally secure form that some party supports? Because it was declared illegal by the highest court in Germany. Well, the highest court in Germany just suspended it for a short time just because the basis of evaluation was wrong and just would have needed to be updated. I didn't look at it in detail, but it's questionable why it hasn't been reintroduced since then. It's kind of a riddle.
Geld.
But